Well, after the giant Sardar Patel statue, Gujarat is now witnessing a clamour for statues of BR Ambedkar in a campaign that's being led by Dalit groups. The BJP in the state is playing it down, but this one may be hard for Mr. Modi to ignore.
Whose statue should be bigger? Dalit organizations on the streets demanding a statue of Baba Sahib Ambedkar, which will be taller than the Statue of Unity being built by the Narendra Modi government at an expense of 2500 crore rupees. Dalit organizations have begun awareness campaigns, mobilizing support for their statue. And this meeting, held on the Republic Day on the outskirts of Ahmedabad, was attended by Ambedkar's grandson.
धर्म चाहिए या संविधान चाहिए, इसका फैसला करना जरूरी है और इस फैसले करने के लिए मेरे ख्याल से कोई न कोई तो माध्यम की जरूरत होती है. बाबा साहब की ऊंची स्टैच्यू बनाने के माध्यम से इसकी दोबारा चर्चा होगी.
These organizations working together as the Samta Shakti Dal claim they are apolitical.
पूरे देश के लिए बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर ने काम किया था. फिर भी आज कई लोग हैं जो बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर को एक दलित नेता के रूप में ही देखते हैं. तो वो राष्ट्रीय नेता है, उसी वजह से हम बोल रहे हैं कि उनका सबसे बड़ा प्रतिमा बनना चाहिए.
The Modi government is trying to downplay these rallies, stating that nobody had approached them with the demands. But with the Dalit organizations all set to intensify their movement and take it out of the state, the BJP's prime ministerial candidate would face some stiff challenge. Dalits constitute 17% of the country's population, and given that Sardar Patel, who Modi claims to idolize, and Ambedkar had differed on various issues including reservation, Modi could find himself walking a tightrope as he steps up the campaign for the Sardar statue. In Ahmedabad, with camera person Natwar Parmar, Rohit Ban for NDTV.
Well, the question is, all these clamours, the clamour that we're seeing for statues, whether it's Sardar Patel's or whether it is now for Mr. Ambedkar, is this something that's justified? The kind of hundreds of crores that do go into building these, are states better off spending them on the welfare of people instead? Professor Kanchai Laya, Dalit activist and writer, joins us tonight from Hyderabad. Sudhindra Bhadoria, member of the BSP. If you remember, Mayawati famously built many of those parks, memorials and statues during her reign in Uttar Pradesh, and we still have Pinky Anand, Ashish Nandi and Ashok Malik here in the studio with us. Professor Elia, let me ask you first, do you believe that this is healthy, that what we're seeing in our democracy today, this sort of competitive statue politics that is taking place? Somebody wants to build a giant statue of Sardar Patel, now everybody wants a giant statue of BR Ambedkar. Shouldn't this money be better spent, sir?
Well, Nidhi, the competition of statues in a way started quite long time back between Ambedkar and Gandhi. But what happened historically was Ambedkar's image, idea and his understanding of liberation of untouchable was spread through the medium of statues across the country. You know, when there were no books, when there were nobody to talk about him, it were Dalits who themselves put his statues in Dalit Vadas. When Gandhi was being written about, Gandhi was being talked about, movies were being made about, and governments promoting Gandhi. But now, Narendra Modi coming into the field as a new competitor for a person who was never a statue cult for any section of the society, even for his own RSS or Vishwa Hindu Parishad. Now, why is he doing this? He is doing this because Narendra Modi comes from an OBC background and he wants to appease the Patels of Gujarat, and therefore he started this. Naturally, Dalits of Gujarat will have a bigger claim in terms of statue because Ambedkar is a transformative figure, which Patel is not. Therefore, they have every right to ask a bigger statue, you know, as it happened earlier, because they have been claiming that more than Gandhi, it is Ambedkar who should have the rightful place in the nation.
All right, so you're saying it's a fight for their legacy. I'll take that first to the BJP and to Pinky Anand. Pinky, how does the BJP then see this? You know, at the end of the day, sitting here, some of us, you know, have raised questions about the 2,500 crores being spent on Sardar Patel's statue, the hundreds of crores that Mayawati has already spent in UP. Is this really the best way to remember a leader's legacy through a big statue?
See, I don't think there's much of a parallel between what the amounts of monies that Mayawati had spent by promoting herself and her own statues and memorials, which was looked at by the Supreme Court also at very, very critically. The question today of having landmarks or national heritage themes or having statues to commemorate national leaders, I think is not very unusual. I think it is part of a historical upbringing, part of a heritage, and in fact this entire concept of Sardar Patel's statue is not built around a statue only, but it's an entire theme. It is something which really will be looked forward as a tourist spot. It has various other infrastructural developments along it. So it doesn't stand as a statue alone, it stands as a symbol of national heritage, and it stands as something towards which people will see. Secondly, in any case, it is not a question of the Gujarat state or any state spending lakhs and crores of rupees. Iron is being collected from farmers, cash is being collected from people for the purpose of building the statue. It is a participative venture made by people and by the Gujarat state. Thirdly, simply because you have Modi ji making one statue of Sardar Patel, which incidentally, rightly, anybody may say somebody else should also have a statue or not, but nobody can dispute that Sardar Patel has a place in history which has to be acknowledged and worshipped in its own manner. So therefore, the question is not of how many more statues you should have, of how many national leaders, that is dependent upon resources and whatever else, but the question today is why has this turned into a political battle of saying this statue was in, you must have Dr. Ambedkar's statue as something taller than that. I think that is falling into some kind of trap which unfortunately is too much of politics at the behest of groups of people.
Okay, Ashok Malik wants to come in there. Is it that, or is it that we should just be asking a fundamental question that shouldn't this money be spent on education and the poor instead of giant statues?
There are two giant statue projects in this country at the moment. One is the Shivaji statue in Maharashtra. The other is the Patel statue in Gujarat. Now, sometimes a gigantic statue project of this nature can become the focus of a tourism and infrastructure development program, like has happened with the Statue of Liberty. Obviously, you can't have 50 such statues across the country. However, I'd like to distinguish between commemoration and statue building. What we are seeing here is the fact that, frankly, the Congress and the Congress system has commemorated only Nehru, Indira and Rajiv. And this has led to subcultures in Gujarat to do with Patel, in Bengal to do with Subhash, among Dalit groups in Maharashtra and UP and elsewhere to with Ambedkar, who feel that their icons, their leaders have not been commemorated as much. You have to see this in that context. So perhaps Ambedkar doesn't deserve a gigantic statue, but does he deserve a more wholesome memorial to his great work? He certainly does.
Okay, I'll take that to Professor Nandi. Is that the problem? Is this the Congress's fault in a sense that, you know, its way of remembering leaders has been so confined to the Nehru Gandhi family that now you have other groups and you know, others looking for a way to commemorate their leaders?
In one sense, Ashok is perfectly right. I mean, one of the first things I learnt in Delhi is this, that if you take a scooter and want to go to Kamala Nehru Park in civil lines, they will invariably take you to the Kamala Nehru Park at the diplomatic enclave, and if you take a scooter at diplomatic enclave, they will take you to Kamala Nehru Park in civil lines. So there are so many of them, so many statues, Kamala so many stadiums, and so many educational institutions. So that's a kind of a overdose of a family. But on the other hand, I think time is a very good healer in these matters, because most of the statues are so dull and so inaesthetic that the best thing about them, you can say, is that they will make excellent ruins. I remember a French architect once is supposed to have said, after seeing Lachan's Delhi, which he was shown around with much pride by one of the government bureaucrats, that they will make excellent ruins in the next century. You know, maybe that's our only hope, because frankly speaking, amongst all the Gandhi statues, the only one which really captures your imagination is the one on Dandi March.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, I was going to say that.
And there are very few statues of that kind. That kind of imagination is missing. This gigantism.
But then how does someone like Professor Kancha Elaya, who wants to remember the legacy of Mr. Ambedkar, how do you do that then? What is the best way according to you to do that?
Do what? Anantamukti once pointed out to me, the Ayyappan temple and the icon there is one of the smallest in India, and it is considered one of the most sacred and one of the most potent deities. So, even a small statue can be marvelous, can be remembered, and people might come from all over the world to see it. If you have that kind of imagination, if you can engage the creative mind of a major sculptor, and go about it in that fashion,